Good evening, everyone, and welcome to your shortwave radio extravaganza. We will start with the SPR4 from Drake. It's an old tube type radio. It's actually a bit of a hybrid. It is one of the better radios if you know how to operate it, want to take the time to have a classic and use it as a tabletop. Not designed for the survivalist, but a very well-made rig and functional for your needs. The next radio is from Allied Radio Corporation, the SX190, another radio along the same vein. Some people modified it and made different things out of it. A good radio, once again, has sideband, a little bit more work to operate it, takes some a learning curve there, but it is another very good radio from analog perspective. Now, an analog radio means no digital readout for essential simplicity in this discussion, but the one on the screen, the FRG7 by Yaesu Munson, without a doubt, is your typical 1960s Volkswagen, like the first car many of us had as a kid. It is a well-made tank. I've dropped one of these with the batteries inside of it, still turned it on, still functioned great. These radios have been outdoors, indoors, can take a little bit more of a beating than the digital radios with the computerized circuitry and digital displays. But so if you need a field radio, my money is on the FRG7 and its sister amateur rigs. In the digital portable realm, the ICF 2010 was the start of the new generation of digital portables, in my opinion. You could go to the 2001 way back in the day. But this radio is essentially all of the features of a tabletop radio for heavy-duty listening. You can still find them on a regular basis used anywhere from $250 to $350. It is well worth every penny of it. Sony still offers technical support for these radios, believe it or not, if you call their 800 number. They came out with a smaller series of radios in the later times, the ICF 7600G and the newer sibling, the ICF SW7600GR. Both are available for under $150. The GR is the new one. The G you can find used on occasion for about $100 to $110. The GR generally is under $150. The reason I recommend this radio is when you turn it on, it has several features which you can read about, but it is sideband capable, decent, and I mean by decent, low battery consumption, very functional, easy to use, and you can hear the stations you're trying to hear in most environments. A very good bargain for the money. The Kato is another interesting, the 1102. I've not played with this radio yet, but it's less than $80. It's sideband capable, which is an important feature for the discussions we've been having on the radio show. The 1102 also is a low battery consumption radio, ideal for using solar rechargers on the batteries and rotating them out using the NiCads. Reception on this has been rated as fairly decent, and with an external antenna, doesn't function too badly. I like it, but I tend to like the next one a little bit more. I put it the new Grundig G3 E3 for the Eton version. I had a G5. The G3 is similar, has some more features, tons of memories, but what makes it practical is its low battery consumption, very sensitive, very selective, which makes things easier to hear. I've taken the G5 overseas on trips, and I recommend this radio also if you need to go overseas for a trip. It is just one of those very, very well-built radios, which in the end is what you're looking for. Now, if you want to go to a larger portable, the classic of them all is another Grundig. It is the Satellite 800. It is the derivative of the Drake SW8, which we'll cover in a minute. They took the innards and basically turned it into a portable radio. All the features you want, you can get it used between $200 and $300. If you can find it used, it's a steal. Now, it does have higher battery consumption, has every feature you need. You often do not have to hook an external antenna up to it. That's how sensitive it is, and it is a very solid radio for the money you're spending. The Drake SW8 is the Cadillac of that. Now, Drake is a long-time American manufacturer that got out of the shortwave radio manufacturing business recently. It is the same as the Satellite 800 as far as performance, in my opinion, but what I really liked about the Drake is its unique front antenna. It has a tilt feature and a handle for carrying it. It is lightweight. It is a very robust radio. You can hear quite a bit with it. and I would buy one if I could get one. Believe me, I would. It would be a nice backup radio to the primary radio I use now. It's this whole series has evolved from the Drake SWA to Satellite 800 to the Eton / Grundig, but always went by Eton E1 XM. Now they also come with just the E1. When they initially came out, it had the neat feature of XM radio. I've got no use for XM radio, hence I don't have it for XM radio. I have it for shortwave radio. I could sit there with the whip antenna or an external antenna on a good night and hear most of the world, especially when propagation conditions are favorable. It is a tabletop radio packed into a portable. It does have a high battery consumption rate. It does have a nice backlight. It does not have a tilt thing, so you're going to have to buy something or build something. There are some slope things you can get for that. In the tabletop arena, there's the D299 from Magnavox. A nice radio, performs very well, does have a whip. It is considered a tabletop, but you can use it as a portable, as you can see by the handle in the picture. Used, though, they retain their value. They're still going for close to $300 because they're considered such a rarity. It does take a little bit more work to read it, but you can find user manuals in Adobe PDF format online. The next radio is one of the ones that I've cherished a long time, and I wish I'd never sold it, but I had to due to some personal circumstances, the Kenwood R1000. It is a very pedestrian radio as far as functionality, but its performance is so superior to many of the newer radios that are out there. You just cannot believe how well it sucks the signals in. It does give you options that some of the newer radios don't provide, and it also gives you simplicity. Very simple radio to operate, very easy to understand. Great signal. If you want to go up a level in complexity and get an older tabletop radio, the ICOM R71A. In my opinion, it performs better than some of the newer radios that have come out for tabletop, including its sister radio, the R75, although the modified R75, the newer one, is much better than the one I had years ago. I can tell you that from experience, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The R71A also had a wireless remote, so if you wanted to lay in bed and hit the switches and tune it in, you could do that. The R75, however, smaller, more compact, not designed for portability. I don't think it was as durable as the R71, but that's just my opinion. But it is a very well-built radio. ICOM is known for quality. The key to this is it does provide you a lot more options for listening to shortwave and international stations, amateur, etc., worldwide. Very well designed, but it does take a little bit of reading if you're not used to operating a rig. Moving up to the Ferrari class, the NRD 545 by Japan Radio Corporation. This has a variable bandwidth tuning, something unless you get really into the expert arena of shortwave radio you don't have to worry yourself about. It is a very good radio for digging out tough signals. You're going to spend well over $1,500 for it used. They no longer manufacture it. It's a shame because Japan Radio Corporation made some of the finest radios in the world. It is designed for those who really want a radio to listen to everything, and you can hear almost every signal imaginable with the right antenna setup, external antenna, in this radio. Much like the set radio in your picture, a British radio, the AOR 7030. Again, another well-made radio, well-designed, easy to use, has a remote control to help you use it if you're across the room. A lot of people I know use the remote control because it didn't come with keypad tuning to key in the frequency, so they use the remote control to operate the radio. Again, well-designed radio with an external antenna. You can hear almost everything. The quirk in everything is an older radio, the NRD 535D from Japan Radio Corporation. In my opinion, outperforms the 545. Much more sensitive, much more selective, much better processing and audio of the signal clarity. If you can get your hands on one at a reasonable price, go for it. I have not seen one used for less than $1,200. If I had $1,200, I'd buy one tomorrow. I really would. It is that good of a radio, as is this other radio, which I did have and sold again due to personal circumstances, the Drake R8B. The old Drakes were some of the most bizarre-looking radios to some people, but when they came to performance, I could hear everything. And I heard events on Vanuatu when there was civil unrest there. I could hear low-power stations in New Zealand and Australia with a good external antenna. In this case, I used the DX Sloper we talked about during the show. A very, very well constructed radio. Very durable, not designed for external use, although I have taken them on what's called a DXpedition out camping. If you want to spend the money, you're looking at about $1,200 to $1,500 on that radio, also used. Now, if money is no object, the Ten-Tec is an interesting radio, the RX340. I've not had a chance to play with it, but for $4,000 plus, I heard that it will sit there and pick up a flea singing into a microphone. A nicely designed radio, often used by governments and private businesses worldwide. That and the radio which follows, the Watkins Johnson HF1000, are both those money is no object kind of radios, and where if you have a problem with it, you replace an entire circuit board. But you can hear darn near everything you can imagine you want to hear with those radios. I just wanted to show you the extremes you could go to in this hobby, and I know people who have purchased those radios before. They are well designed, well-built radios, give you the performance you would expect for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 plus, and the options, there's not that many. We'll return to our normal Sunday night Death Burger programs with internet, news, and market analysis starting next Sunday night. I think I'll have a lot more to talk about at that time, and I hope this little shortwave radio primer and introduction has helped my audience. God bless and good night.